As a member of the LGBTQ community, the need for allyship has become aggressively apparent over the past few years. Yet, given that my part of this community is present in the B of LGBT, I have found myself drawn to others in my community whose struggles align more closely with gender identity rather than sexuality. That being said, the group with whom I wish to ally is the transgender community, or as trans scholar Susan Stryker puts it, a group of people who move away from their gender assigned at birth, people who cross over the boundaries constructed by their culture to contain and define that gender. The transgender community is a vibrant, diverse group of individuals who've persevered through decades of trials. From Marsha P. Johnson to Laverne Cox, the strides trans people have made to be seen and valued are tremendous. Nevertheless, the stigmas surrounding this community are far from absent from our modern day, and it's an ally's job to stand with transgender voices as they continue to speak out against the injustices they face. Transgender people in America have battled fervently to ensure their place in the world is just and true. In the past, trans individuals have been fired from jobs due to their gender orientation. Even now, many states have sex discrimination laws present, yet virtually none of said states explicitly define gender expression, leaving room for legislators to exclude human rights to those identifying as transgender. Also, trans people have been systematically denied access to basic resources I, as a cisgender woman, take for granted, like my right to use the bathroom of my preference. The ripple effects of this disenfranchisement are poignant in modern-day society as newer social issues present themselves. For instance, Executive Order 41319, commonly known as the Transgender Military Ban, was passed by President Donald Trump on August 25, 2017. This order effectively prevented all transgender soldiers on active duty from continuing their service, while simultaneously excluding all potential trans soldiers from eligibility to serve in the armed forces. This ban has been labeled by the Pentagon as a preventative strategy to combat gender dysphoria, a term that discredits the validity of trans people all across America. The ban is just one of several instances of injustice the trans community faces day to day, including, yet not limited to, the financial burden of gender reassignment surgery, social misgendering from their peers, and an increased risk of suicide and mental health issues. To me, being an ally means acting as a consistent presence in the fight against inequality transgender people have been forced to endure. This includes amplifying trans voices, not speaking over them. Being an ally to this community means standing firmly behind trans people through education, advocacy, and service. Allying with this group is important to me because as a member of the LGBTQ community, I have seen the hatred that can spew in the direction of those outside the dominating ideology. Now, I have fortunately never been faced with the bigotry directed specifically towards trans individuals, but through witnessing it firsthand, I've realized how important standing behind these trans voices really is. I want to know that as a bisexual woman, I'm doing all that I can to support those in my community who have struggled, like me, in coming to terms with their identity. In my eyes, my job as an ally is to relentlessly support this community, and that means using my privilege as a white cis woman to help progress the movement forward. This includes acknowledging my privilege, and therefore my lack of oppression in this regard. However, the work of an ally is to recognize the burden placed on the shoulders of others and carry the weight alongside them. This means educating my fellow cisgender peers about pressing issues in the trans community. That being said, arguably one of the most important aspects of allyship to me is striving to educate myself. I can never truly know everything there is to know about trans issues, but by pushing myself to grow in the pursuit of knowledge, I become a better ally in return. This to me means acknowledging when I stumble, accepting the blunder, and viewing what I've learned not as a failure on my part, but rather a step closer to being a better friend to the trans community. All in all, the work of an ally can shift the face of our society. As social workers, it's ingrained in the fabric of our practice that ethical action is essential to our core values. These values center around ideals such as social justice, integrity, and the worth of a person. By allying ourselves with a variety of diverse communities, social work as both a profession and an institution can prosper through continued ethical practice and the recognition of basic human rights. Doing this inherently furthers social justice as it is a guiding principle to social work, shaping the actions of our profession to match the words that drive its place in the world. Social work is a vital source of change for the world around us, and by supporting groups like the transgender community through Allyship, we promote the importance of this field and make the world a better place through hard work and perseverance. Allyship isn't easy, but by standing firm in what's right, society as a whole stands to progress forward, embodying the very values that we as social workers hold dear. Thank you.